the 90s, a time of the Discman, Tamagotchis, Beanie Babies, Furbies, and of course, the mascots of the Sony PlayStation. There were plenty of them gunning for that all-time seat of mascot when it came to this console. You had Croc, Gex, some might even argue Parappa the Rapper, but none of these held a candle to the two titans of this era. Of course, I am talking about Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Now for me personally, I was always a Spyro kind of guy. I preferred the gameplay, and for me dragons are much more awesome than bandicoots, no matter how much attitude they may have. Spyro the Dragon holds a special place in my heart as it was the first PlayStation game I ever played on my uncle's console, and then my first game when we eventually got our own. With this in mind, I decided to take a jump into that big old pool of flaming purple nostalgia with a lovely fresh coat of paint as I review the 3D platformer Spyro the Dragon from the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, developed by Toys for Bob and published by Activision. Overall, I'm going to review this game as a standalone game. I played the Nintendo Switch version, and I'm only going to be making occasional comparisons to the original game. This is also your spoiler warning. If you don't want to know how this 2 decades old game ends, then go play it first. Spyro the Dragon begins with the dragons being interviewed, whilst the big bad Gnasty Gnorc watches. He gets offended when he gets called ugly and not a threat, and decides to trap all the dragons in crystal and steal all their treasure, turning some of it into his minions. Our young purple and orange dragon was small, and so he got missed. From here, you take control of Spyro, followed by your dragonfly friend Sparks, and head through the 5 worlds, rescuing the dragons and taking back your treasure, on the way to take down Gnasty Gnorc. It's a simple story, one with a silly setup, a big bad to go after, all set in an imaginative, magical world. For 1998, this story was all it needed to be and nothing more. And although compared to today's standards, it's quite basic, after playing through it again, it was great. Not having all the different twists and turns and depth that a lot of games today have makes it just an enjoyable time in which you can sit down, turn your brain off, and enjoy yourself. So Spyro the Dragon sees you going through 5 worlds. These are the Artisans, Peacekeepers, Magic Crafters, Beastmakers, and the Dreamweavers. Each of these have their own set of inner levels. You go through these worlds collecting the gems, freeing the dragons, and retrieving the stolen dragon eggs from these egg thieves. And damn, these guys are still as annoying as I remember them from when I was a child. So you have 2 ways to approach combat, that being your flame attack and your charge attack. The enemies vary throughout the game, with certain enemies only being affected by certain attacks, such as the armoured enemies only being hurt by your charge attack, and the larger enemies having to be taken down with your flames. Also, you will find places where you can get a supercharge. There is a point where it is used to kill some very particular enemies, but other than that it is mainly used to find your way around to collect everything within the levels. Treetops is a prime example of this, as you need to use the supercharge to jump from tree to tree and find all the hidden thieves and gems. Not the easiest levels and pretty infamous among players, but considering the original came out in 1998 and is definitely aimed more towards children, it is quite intricately put together and quite an impressive level, even if it did make me so angry! The other power-up you'll find is the Super Flame. This, once again, is used in very particular places. You will find fairies that give you a little kiss on the nose, which will allow you to use this fire for a limited period of time. This is used to either destroy locked doors, clearing your path, open locked chests, or destroy certain enemies, such as these suits of armour. Your health bar is indicated by the little dragonfly known as Sparks, who changes colour each time you're hit, and once he's disappeared, you will die with your next hit. To replenish your health, you kill one of the creatures in each map, which creates a butterfly for him to eat. These creatures are easy to notice as they're simple things like sheep. These mechanics are all needed to get through the game, but you will really need to master these techniques to fully complete the game and find everything. I say mastered, but other than a couple of levels, in all honesty, it's not too difficult. Each world has a boss. Now, unfortunately, these are not the greatest, and these are not challenging, and you won't find yourself finding it too difficult to work out how to deal with each of them. This was the same back in the day, so I don't mind them being too easy. One thing I would have liked though is a bit more of an intro to these characters when you enter the world, rather than just a rescued dragon telling you who they are. Just a bit of a missed opportunity in my personal opinion when redoing this game. Then we come to the bane of these games, at least to me. I know some people enjoy these sections, but for me, they're just the worst, and it is always a pain for me to get them done. For those of you who know, I am of course talking about the flight levels. There are 5 of these in total, 1 for each world, and you spend the whole level with the ability to permanently fly, and you must complete each objective within a time limit. These vary from flying through a set of rings and arches to destroying a group of trains, planes and crates. Each time you fly through or destroy one, you get an extra second or 3 added to your time, and the ultimate goal is to find the perfect path to get all 4 objectives completed in a single run. I hate these, and for me, whoever created these levels is a goddamn sadist. So once you've gotten your way through the worlds and levels, you get to Gnasty's world, and eventually against Gnasty Gnorc. He's about as extravagant as the other bosses. You chase a couple of thieves for some keys, then you chase him in a circle till you can hit him, and then you hit him again. Done. That's it. A bit of a letdown as final bosses go, but oh well. Once he's defeated, you're told to come back when you have everything in the game, all gems, dragons and eggs. Luckily though, there is a handy dandy little guidebook to help you keep track of all this. Once you do this, you have the chance to enter Gnasty's treasure trove. This is a nice little place in which you can fly for an unlimited amount of time, like the flight levels, and just collect all the treasure. It's a nice little way to congratulate the player for collecting everything throughout. There are a few nice little additions made to this game by Toys for Bob. The first is if you click the left stick, sparks will point the way to the closest gem. This makes collecting everything a hell of a lot easier. It was a mechanic that did not come into the franchise until the original game's sequel, Ripto's Rage. You now have full camera control with the right analog stick instead of using the shoulder buttons. To try and be more in line with the games of the present, they've made it so that you can shoot your flames with the right shoulder button, which I know a lot of people thoroughly enjoyed. You now have the option to have a map. I personally didn't use this, but it's a nice little addition for those who want one. And also, in the loading screens, you can do this. So yeah, movement. The final thing I'll mention that Toys for Bob added to this was the skill points. These were very simple objectives given to the player, such as defeat a boss without taking damage or burn a hidden tulip in a certain level. Doing these allows you to unlock a gallery of artwork. This is a nice little bonus for those willing to go that extra mile. Toys for Bob has done a fantastic job at giving this 20-year-old game a fresh coat of paint in Unreal Engine 4. It looks great. I played this on the Nintendo Switch, and seeing the purple little dragon in 1080p was fantastic. It runs at 30 FPS, but to be honest, unless you're the kind of gamer who won't play anything in less than 60, it's really not going to bother you. The only time I ever had a drop in frame rate was on the loading screens, which was kind of strange. And for me personally, I felt the load times were a bit longer than they should have been. When I first started the game, the camera is set up to have motion blur. This motion blur, in all honesty, is pretty damn horrific. When the game first released, people could not do anything about this, and I saw a lot of people complaining. And I'm not surprised, as it was very bad. Luckily, being on the Switch, the update is automatically there, so I can just turn it off. If you play this game, I very much recommend you do this. Everything looks fantastic. The enemies have all been revamped and look brilliant. I actually know that the Gnorcs are, well, the Gnorcs. As a child, I always thought they were some kind of frogmen. I've heard some complaints saying that the enemies look a bit ugly, but to me that's kind of the whole point. The Gnorcs are ugly. That's the thing that kicked this whole storyline off. Spyro looks and moves perfectly. You can see this in everything he does, all the way down to the way his claws move while jumping and flying. You can tell they put a lot of thought into how this bouncy winged fire blower moves. The environments are gorgeous. There isn't much else I can say about them. They've been redone and look absolutely goddamn fantastic! In the original, the dragons you rescue are all pretty much a palette swap of the same 4 dragons. Toys for Bob went all the way with this though, and made every single dragon have its own look and voice. Each dragon has its own personality and it shows. Oh my god, it shows. The music sounds great. The original game's music was written by the one and only Stuart Copeland, the drummer of the Police. For the Reignited Trilogy, he only came back to write a main theme. But the original music was redone by Stefan Vankoff, who did a brilliant job. But if the redone music is not your thing, there is an option to switch to the original soundtrack, which is a lovely little touch. There's also a nice little addition in the dynamic music option. This is where the music tries to match what you're doing at the time. So, for an example, if you start charging around, the music should speed up its tempo, and when you're just wandering around exploring, it should be more chilled. Now, if I'm completely honest, I didn't notice this happening when playing the game. I've heard some people say they prefer to have it off, but either way, even if you dislike it or not notice it, it's a nice little touch to an already awesome game. One final thing which I could not miss was the voice acting. You have Tom Kenny reprising his role as Spyro. For those of you who don't know, he did the voice for both the original sequels, Ripto's Rage and Year of the Dragon. This was great to hear Spyro with his well-known voice. Each of the dragons have their own unique voice, further adding to their personalities, and even the balloon men speak now, adding to the building of this magical world. One thing I did notice was that when you beat the game, the credits no longer play as the camera passes through each world. This was a shame, as it was a great way to end the originals, showing you all the places you have been. Admittedly, even though it resorted to the scrolling text, it did add these nice and admittedly entertaining artwork of Spyro doing random things with the other dragons, which did give me a bit of a chuckle. The other thing that I thought was a bit strange was the Gnorcs in Gnasty's world. In the original game they were mean, and you could tell they wanted to take you down at this point as they resorted to just straight up shooting you with guns. Now, they straight up shoot you with goo. Is that Goosebumps 2? Like, what is this? Has Gnasty Gnorc teamed up with Ivanus to create some new weaponry? Censorship does some weird things sometimes. Overall, Toys for Bob have done a bang-up job on this remake. It looks stunning, plays amazing, sounds fantastic, and really does hit that nostalgic part of you. I love every minute I spent playing this game, and I did everything there was to do, earning that 120% completion. For those of you who are fans of the Purple Dragon and have not picked this up yet, I really suggest you do so. And for those of you who are on the fence, I recommend the same. You can get this game on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. Well, that's all the time I've got for today, everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. If you haven't already, then please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to keep up to date on all the latest content. Don't forget to drop a like and let me know what you think down in the comments below. Whether that be your thoughts on the Reignited Trilogy, the original games, or hell, even if there's a game you want me to review, I would love to hear it. Take it easy, everyone.